Hey, there we go. Welcome back. Good morning. My name is Jeff Fritz, and this is my live stream. I like to call it Fritz and Friends, and we're going to write a little bit of code today. You can see from the title, we're actually going to do a little bit of work with Docker, with containers, based on some questions that we got coming off of our last show or two that we did here, and some other questions that I saw from some friends on Twitter. Today is August 30th, 2018. And if you've been watching my Twitter, you've seen I've had a little bit of problem with Docker this morning. So we'll deal with that. We'll go through that and take a look at how we can resolve that, how we can work with Docker a little bit better here on our systems. Let me take a look at the chat room real quick. Hey Ashley, good to see you. And Coated Beard. There's somebody after my own fine good looks. Fine looks. Brave Cobra is here. And there's Dev Lead. Good morning. Actually, probably good afternoon for some of you, right? And Ashley, good evening. I know you're coming from Australia, Eastern Asia area. Norseman 71, My 987, Spoutier, Thleesome, howdy, good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Sari Adderson, good afternoon. You must be coming in from Europe, Africa, that region. Alfonso Vigas, hello. Thanks for the host, Dev Chatter. Let's see, keep looking here. Woody 101, listen to .NET Rocks. Here to support the Rainbow Beard, and thank you for the follow, Norseman. And Steve, you might be a little busy today because it sounds like some folks listened to our .NET Rocks episode. Um, so I did notice a little bit of a spike in follows over the past day or so. We are over 3,400 follows. That's great. And when we get to 5,000, if we get to 5,000 before the middle of October, October 20th, yeah, we're gonna dye this here soup catcher rainbow colored, and we'll have a good time with that. So, good afternoon from old Germany. Hey, Jurgen, good to see you. Let's see, IT Goran is here. Tom Mutton, the one killer turtle. The one, there is only one turtle, and it's killer. It's amazing. Check it out, the one killer turtle. Thank you for joining us. It is getting pretty thick. I may need to thin it out a little bit. But I did promise the folks here on stream that I would not cut it after the middle of August so that it gets nice and properly ZZ top length so that we have some fun with that. Leeds in the UK, GA Progman. Hey, that's Jamie from .NET Core Podcast. We recorded a show, what was that? That was yesterday. And you'll be able to hear that in the very near future. So that's awesome. London, Leeds, Norfolk in the UK. Awesome. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. And Fretja is here. Good morning. Let's start playing some music here in the background. I, of course, play music to code by from our friend Carl Franklin. This song is called Indigo. This is one of my favorites. Thank you for the follow, Thleesome. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. 1315. There we go. Lyon, France. Awesome. Thank you, Spoutier. I hope I'm pronouncing. Let me know if I'm pronouncing any of your names incorrectly. I try to do my best here. Killer Turtle was already taken, so you're the one. Heard about .NET Rocks. Okay. Call you Seb. Not a problem. I don't even know how to pronounce it. Mark, is that going to be Burger? From Berlin, Germany. Hello. And there's Zerk. Good to see you. And C17. There you go. Some folks that I recognize have been around for a bit. So there's the mug. There you go. Works on my machine. Ship it. And it, like I said earlier, if you've been reading my Twitter this morning, you know I've been struggling with my Docker install here locally. And we're going to go through. We're going to address that. We're going to get to the bottom of this, and it'll be pretty good. Who drew your Twitch avatar, Chris? Was that a new update today? I got a new update to my Twitch, not to my Docker install yesterday, and I think it's 16 point something. I have it installed on 2 different machines here. This is Docker for Windows that I'm talking about, and that's what we're going to spend a little bit of time on today. This is Docker 18.06.1 Community Edition. So my face skin looks a bit yellow. I tinker with the colors a little bit because I'm wearing orange today. I wanted to make it, and this is from Code on the Beach. Cool event in Florida that I got a chance to speak at a couple years ago. Had a great time visiting those folks in Jacksonville, Florida, and presenting to their event. They had this year's version of the event about 2 weeks ago now. That was great to see. Thank you, Ozbob and Rift87 for the follows. Steve, you're getting a little sweaty there, Steve. You may want to dial it back a little bit there, buddy. All right. So, I've got a couple different things that I want to look at today around the concept of containers. Look at that. My hand even goes. Somebody didn't set up that right. If I get 100 viewers before the stream starts, that would be awesome. I've seen a few folks that have been able to do that, have been able to get a couple hundred folks before stream starts, went out in the developer space. They've been around for a while and they've got a lot more followers than me. So, hey, look at that. Visual Studio is now hosting us. Awesome stuff. The Visual Studio channel I've been working hard on. We're getting that up and running so that oh my gosh. We're getting that up and running so that there's a ton of great content coming there. But DevLead, thank you so much for the subscription. I really appreciate that. I will, of course, match that subscription. I don't want to, require you to subscribe to the channel here. But if you do feel like you want to support the channel, you do want to drop a subscription here, I'm going to match your subscription, and we're going to make a donation to Girl Develop It, and they help women and underserved minorities learn how to write code, just like we're doing here. And next week we've got a bunch of events on the schedule. We're going to make a big donation live. I'm going to try and do it live here on the show. It's going to be pretty special. I'm really looking forward to supporting that group further, and it's through subscriptions. It's through when folks cheer. If you want to cheer with bits here on the channel, you're welcome to do that. I will match those and we'll make those donations. You're not required to. That's a feature that Twitch makes available, and because I want to be able to transcode, I want to be able to scale this video so that anybody can watch it wherever you are. So all of those, if you do want to support, if we'll together make a nice donation to those folks and encourage them to grow their capabilities. So we get that rainbow beard. The hat, yes. So every time we start a new stream here, I try to wear a different hat. This is a hat I haven't worn in a long time here on stream. And I'm wearing it particularly today because this is a hat I got from my first Tech Ed conference that I went to back in 2008. And it says, "Certified I am, you're not." They had I was a young developer at young, listen to me. And rather support Girl Develop It than see ads. Great stuff. Thank you. So at my first Tech Ed, I went there and there was opportunity to get certified. And if you passed the certification test, there were a couple different hats with funny sayings like this that humble bragged about your certification status. And I passed my tests. I got my Microsoft certification. So I like to wear this every now and again. Certified I am, you're not. So a lot of fun at that event, and I'm wearing it today because I'm working on my talks for Ignite at the end of September. So Microsoft Ignite is the evolution of the TechEd conference. A lot of content will be broadcast live from Ignite on Channel 9. You'll be able to tune in, and there's what we call the hot room, a room that has a live camera in it that people will be broadcasting from. And some of the big topics that Microsoft wants to encourage you to learn about will be in that hot room. I'm giving 3 sessions. I'm giving a breakout in 2 workshops. I'm giving a breakout session on how to upgrade from .NET Framework, from ASP.NET to ASP.NET Core. And I'm giving 2 workshops on getting started with ASP.NET Core 2.1. All of the breakout sessions are recorded, will be available on YouTube after the event, but the workshops are not. So we got a really cool idea, and I'm gonna announce it here now. And M. Sapien is right on it. They're not typically available online. You can go to the docs on docsmicrosoft.com. You can find the docs and you can walk through it. It'll tell you how to do it. And it's the docs. You don't have that instructor that's leading the workshop that'll answer your questions and walk through it. Exclusively at Ignite, my workshops, 2 workshops on Wednesday and Thursday of that week, will be streamed interactive in the chat room on the Visual Studio channel live, Twitch and Mixer. You'll be able to watch those, and it will be amazing. All right, we'll be answering questions from folks in the room. We'll be answering questions from folks in the chat rooms on Mixer and Twitch. If you go to twitch.tv/Visual Studio, or if you head over to mixer.com/Visual Studio, you'll be able to catch the workshop there as well. So it's first time we're trying this, running those workshops from the big event over live streaming. I think it's going to be amazing. TechEd Amsterdam is your favorite dev event you were at, says Performensch. You know what? I never made it to TechEd Europe, and I'm a little sad that I never got to. Really gutted you won't be going. You don't get to go to Ignite. You know, Ignite is going through a couple changes. I think they're going to see how Ignite changes this year as they reintroduce more developer content. I think next year it's going to be really amazing as they really bring the level of developer content back up, and they start to integrate. And you're seeing it in the content plan this year. More and more open source technologies that folks want to use on Azure or with other Microsoft properties being introduced and made available as content at Ignite. It's coming. So, all right, I wanted to spend some time talking about Docker today. I uninstalled Docker on this machine, on my production machine that you see me speaking here on. Consequently, when I go over to things like this, my widgets are missing. The widgets that you see here that I run on stream, these are running out of a Docker container local to this machine, to the production machine, so that I just have them everywhere that I'm running. And I don't have to rely on a service out on Azure or something. And what I did, I installed this 1806 patch for Docker. And it did the update, and it tried to restart, and it never started back up. And that's a problem. So containers couldn't start, so my widgets wouldn't run. So what do we do? So I'm going to walk through the process of doing the reinstall. Here we are. Look at that. And look, my nameplate's empty. The numbers that we generate and put underneath there, it's empty. Well, you know, I feel terrible. Where are my numbers? So let's get Docker reinstalled. Let's show how to pull in that container that uses and presents all of the stuff that we have here, and the scoreboard up top too. They're all gone. So let's walk through that startup experience, and then I'm going to remote into another machine that I have here right next to me that's configured with Windows containers, and I want to talk a little bit about Windows containers and getting that running with .NET Framework and an ASP.NET Core application. I had to restart the machine after that last Docker update. I restarted it several times, and no joy here, Smap. Ashley says, check the Hyper-V manager. Make sure the VM isn't still around. Very good point, and let me dig into that just for a second. Here's my Hyper-V manager. When you install Docker, Docker actually runs, right? Docker allows you to provide containerized applications, right? You put your application inside of a container, and a container is kind of like a cookie cutter, right? Or a rubber stamp, right? You can stamp out copies of this thing. And instances, right? Those stamped images can be out there running, and they can run together in collaboration with each other. So when you want to scale your applications horizontally, it's actually a pretty effective way to do that. You're not standing up tons of little ISO files or VHDs, because it'll share resources. It shares the same processes on disk and stores the differences between those the differences between those disks when it needs to write anything, and it shares the processor quite nicely. So there's some more going on there with how it uses the virtual machine and how the processor is. Don't worry about too much of that. If you want to get down into the nitty-gritty of that, you can. But for now, let's just move on to the next piece here. We don't really need to get into that for what we're trying to accomplish. On Windows, when you run Docker and you want it to run on a Linux virtual machine, right? Docker will run on Linux or it'll run on Windows. It'll run inside of Hyper-V. So here's my Hyper-V manager, and you can see I don't have any virtual machines up and running. Good. So let's go and get a copy of Docker. Now, Docker is free for folks to download, start using as a developer. They call it the Community Edition. And when you download this, you can run and build things locally, but if you wanted to host something production-wise, they ask you to buy a license at that point. So at this point, you want me to log in to download? I shouldn't. You didn't have to log in to download some time ago. I guess I have to do that now. Good thing I do have a Docker ID. There it is. Yep, go get Docker. Thank you. Save. Alright, so we'll wait for that to download. Just had to restart Docker. Haven't had to restart my machine. That's great to hear, Basic Wonder. Like I said, I'm running into weird issues here. Do you know if Microsoft has remote internships? Remote from main campus, from Seattle, Washington? I would guess it depends on what you want to do. But for the purposes of an internship, I would strongly encourage you to go to Seattle. The experience of being in Seattle, being in that environment, is so worth it, Zerk. And it's I can't promote it enough. They have housing available for you. They have quite the experience for you. Trust me, you would want to go out there. All right. I love seeing the discussion back and forth, helping each other there. That's awesome. Hey, Syra Lash, good to see you. All right, so it's finished downloading. It's finished downloading. Watching Docker download is like watching paint dry. As an insider, I'm running Edge. Oh man. So there's 2 tracks that you can follow here. You can get on the bleeding edge that has some of the stuff they're testing. It's a beta track, and you can get some of that stuff before it's high quality, ready for release. I'm trying to use the stable version here, and we're having a problem, it seems like. Slim Boy Win, thank you for the follow. I appreciate you joining us here. Today, you can run those early builds. Yeah, you can run those early builds if that's something that you're interested in. Absolutely. I'm looking for stability. For this machine where I'm doing production, of video like this and I'm doing my day-to-day work, I want stability. I've had enough issues with instability around bleeding edge versions of Windows and bleeding edge versions of Docker, where my job is to be running the bleeding edge version of Visual Studio. So I'd rather focus on the Visual Studio version that I need to be testing and working with, and then come back later and upgrade those other versions as necessary. But I get what you're saying, Janescu. It makes sense. If you're interested, if you want to tempt fate, you can do that. Visual Studio preview side by side is experimental enough. Yes, it is. I'll give you a couple points for that one. Well said, Performance. All right, so I click the install, and it's a half a gig, 521 meg, and nothing's happening. Something should be happening. There we go. All right, please. No, don't. Now I downloaded a half a gig, and it's downloading another package. I'm gonna stay on Linux containers on this machine, so it's unpacking all the files, and we should see this running in just a second. And when it does, as it does run, we should see it appear here with a Linux virtual machine inside of our virtual machines window. Hey Gareth, good morning. Does Microsoft provide kind of trials for developers from all over the world to observe or even participate in software development process? What do you mean by trials? Let's see here. Installation succeeded. Okay, good. Now what? Where is it? So installation succeeded, it completed, and it's not running. Why would you install Docker and not run it? So let's try Docker. Come on. Go. Shoot. Get started. All right, so here it is. Docker is starting, so I can right click. Now you can see here's the virtual machine starting that will end up hosting all of the Linux virtual machines in. And let's take a look at settings. And you can see over here, Docker is starting. I'm going to close that. So we should see this flip over to green real quick, and you can see the CPU in the virtual machine is starting up. It's doing something in there. I can click on this, and I should be able to see something. I could connect to it, and I should be able to see what's going on there. So it's got 2 gig of memory. That's fine. I'm not pushing it, doing anything production where I need to really have a lot of memory there. So yeah, right? Now's the point where it's like, what's it doing? You missed Jeff reinstall Docker. I know, right? There's not much we've done yet. Azure Functions get options in Visual Studio to use Docker for Windows, to use Linux containers. There is a new feature here where you can, oh, there we go, where you can develop locally and be able to monitor it, and that's kind of nice. So I'm going to log in here, and if I remember my user ID and password correctly, I'm all logged in, Docker is running, and I have a virtual machine out here with Docker running properly on this machine. Now, for the purposes of the show, come on, there it goes. I have my Stream Tools project, and if you've watched for a while, you've seen me work on this. Fritz.streamtools. So we have this project that has all kinds of little tools for managing the stream and those widgets in it. I have on a folder here called Stream, and then down in my Tools folder here, I have all the stuff I need to get my stream tools up and running. So I have all my environment settings for this machine and things like my Twitch key, so I know how to connect into Twitch. Here in this env text file, and I've got a run command that'll just run the container when I'm ready for it. But I've also got a get command that will get it for me and make that available for me to use locally on this machine. So get will reach out to this private registry I have set up in Azure, right? First registry, Azure CR.io, and it grabs the latest version of this container. It's out there pre-packaged, very much like it was an app store, right? That's what these registries are for Docker. So now I have this available to me here, and I can look at my images, and it'll show here's my one image, and it's about 264 meg. It's an ASP.NET Core application that I've been maintaining. It's real easy to work with, and it's just sitting there. Now, what I like to do, and that I have set up, and here we go. I'm going to peel back the layers here. I have a Stream Deck. Okay, a Stream Deck is a little thing that I have here that has a bunch of buttons on it that I can pre-configure. They've got LCD screens inside each of the buttons, and I've got it configured with all these different things here. And this is my screen that I use to start and stop and manage how the stream is working. So down at the bottom, this bottom row of buttons, these are the different scenes that you see me use here on the show, right? And then here's my microphone. I can turn that on and off, pushing this button, and you heard me mute and unmute. So I have a button here that'll launch my widgets. So I'm going to just push that button, and it'll run and start up those widgets for me. And there it is. It's up and running, and now I'm getting my scoreboard update and everything, and I'll just tuck this off to the side. And I usually start that before I go and present anything here on stream or start up OBS, so that all the caches for these various widgets get pre-populated with properly found items. So there we go. Those two are now populated properly. Let's see if we can get the rainbow beard goal started. There it is. Look at that. Oh, we're even getting into the blue of the bar there. That's pretty cool. And I'll start the scoreboard, the ticker up at the top of the page. There it goes. All right. So now I've got all my widgets up and running, and I've got this container hanging out in the background. And you can also see if here's some of the other buttons and things that are on the Stream Deck that I can poke around and interact with. Here's how I changed my Twitter name from, right now if you go out on Twitter, you can see it says live, right, currently live or something like that, Jeff Fritz, right? And it's just me changing my name here with these two buttons, and it just changes my name back and forth. But my various sound effects and things are down here. Yeah, bet you didn't know I had a Transformer sound effect hanging out there. So I've got links to, right, different ways that I run things here on stream, some other musical sound effects. And I'm slowly building those out as I hear other cool things that we want to talk about. Let me come back to the questions here in the chat room. Good morning, Brendan. It's just a default .NET New Razor template. Do you need Windows Pro to run Hyper-V and Docker for Windows? Yes, I believe you do. You do need to have Hyper-V in order to run Docker for Windows. And as a developer, you probably should have the Pro version of Windows anyway. But you can run Docker just fine on your Mac, on your Linux machine, and work with .NET Core inside of those containers on those environments just as easily. We did it for a while on our Maze for Macs month. That was really great. Think my new Surface Go will handle it? No. No. Surface Go, you're going to be struggling with Visual Studio on a Surface Go. I'd love a Stream Deck, just can't justify the price. Might have to do something with a touchscreen and either a Pi or a Win 10. A number of folks have wired up buttons to their phone, And OBS, the tool that I use to stream here, has a remote control capability that you can send messages into, and I've seen folks set that up. Seems like I've got a similar setup to Brendan's. Cool. Have I ever seen Mark's? I've not seen. You're referring, of course, to our friend Mark Miller on Code Rushed. Let's see. I am going to allow that from Cyralash. Yes, VirtualBox is a pain with Docker. VS Code and Docker definitely works very well together. It's not. So there's a challenge with Docker and Windows, where they're both trying to build really great virtualization capabilities, and they're really tiptoeing around each other. A lot of folks who used to work on Docker now work on Windows or Azure, and good things are happening there. So we have Docker installed. We have it running now locally on my production machine, and it's running Linux, and you saw we got it up and running to present and run our ASP.NET Core application. But the question that I got on Twitter was around, how do I do this with Windows and .NET Framework 4.7? So here's what I'm going to do. Let's see if I can get this working this time. I'm going to remote into, this is actually my Surface Book over here, and I'm going to grab the IP off of it so that I can remote into it. Let's see, we want, that's Ethernet 1.83, 183, yeah. And, what's my password? Yep, okay, fine, go, do it. Test ignore. Sorry, Fool Snable, I am not ignoring that. I am full on paying attention to that. Woo! There it is. Kidding. Would be especially great if this would also work with Compose. Let's talk about Compose in a few minutes here. Let's get over to that. Forcing Hyper-V was a bad choice. Why do you say that, Brave Cobra? You really hate Hyper-V. Okay. Unlock the PC. Yes, I'm trying to. I'd love to. I remoted into you. There we go. Okay. I'm in. So here's Docker running on, this is my Surface Book. It's sitting right here on the desk next to me to my left. Just do it. Do it! Like that. For my needs, it works very well. Yeah. So this is the challenge that we see, the challenge that Brave Cobra is explaining here with hating Hyper-V. It's hard to find what are good, sensible defaults for things. And as a software vendor, what's good for some folks isn't so good for others. And when you set a default, that becomes the favored, the preferred way to do things. And people look at that as, well, you've declared a winner. You've declared this is the way to do things. And that upsets some folks because they would prefer something be more complex, or they'd prefer something be less complex. And it's a very tricky thing to manage. Hyper-V is painful to set up and manage, says Brave Cobra. It is. It is a little bit. Hey, Parathon. So what I've done, I've right-clicked on this machine. You can't see it. It's behind the rainbow beard bit there. Let's do this. Haha. So now you can see, right? Look at this. It's like Inception, right? I've got a machine in a machine. In a video on your machine. To get into Docker, I right-clicked on the tray here where I've got the little whale. And there's an option here underneath Diagnose and Feedback. If you're in Linux mode, it'll say switch to Windows containers. I've already switched it to Windows containers, and now it says switch back to Linux containers. Now, the latest version of the Docker tools is supposed to be able to run Linux containers at the same time as Windows containers and be able to manage them at the same time. I haven't tried it yet. I'm not going to experiment with it. I want to get in and show how to work with the Windows containers today. And we'll figure out experimenting with it maybe a little bit later. Finally! I know! Finally what, Lithics? Help me out. I tried to run Docker in a Hyper-V Windows 10 about 6 months ago, brought the whole lot to its knees. Yeah. Now run Kubernetes. So you can run, Kubernetes is now part of this, and Kubernetes is an orchestration platform that you can use to coordinate how all of your Docker containers are working together. What you should be able to do, what did I do? Did I do something? Please tell me I didn't do something. See, now it's not responding at all. I've gone too far. Did I accidentally close it? I think I closed it. After all that fighting I did to get Docker up and running, I just shut it down. Yeah, you woulda. What you should be able to do with Docker, I'm going to go to this machine while we're waiting for the other one to start back up. In settings, you should be able to throttle to, who was it who was saying they brought their, to Smab's point, you should be able to throttle exactly how much resources Docker is using. And I don't see Docker starting here. I told you to start here, buddy. Come on. There we go. So you should be able to control exactly how much of your machine Docker is using. And this is especially important, not just on our developer machine here, but when we get into a production space and you don't want Docker owning the entire thing. I want to thank, is that Zombie Tack? Thank you for joining us today. Good morning. I appreciate the follow. 3,418 followers now. Awesome stuff. Thank you. Thank you. I'm running Linux MS SQL in a container in my work machine as I want to be able to use other Linux containers. That's really cool. Let's touch on that for a second, what Lithics is pointing out. Microsoft released a version of SQL Server that runs on Linux. But to make it available for everybody, they just put it inside a Linux container. So you can install and run SQL Server wherever you want now. Very cool stuff. Did you already have someone on the stream explain how to work with containers in Azure? Having a hard time figuring out the right services and pricing. Let's take a look at that in a little bit here. Let's get past the developer story, and then we'll talk a little bit about Azure. But if you really want to dig into it, Steve Lasker from the Azure Tools team that does a lot of work with Docker and showing how that works was on our our architecture workshop back in July. If you head out to the YouTube archive, you'll see he was the last hour and a half or so, 2 hours of that event. Really great stuff. He went deep on some of those topics. But we'll talk about setting up containers here on Azure in a little bit, I think. We should have plenty of time to get into that. So the question I had that I want to answer here is around how do I run a .NET Core, an ASP.NET Core app on .NET Framework inside of a container. So let's do it. Let's start up a container. Let's start up a Visual Studio. Are you kidding? We're going to go through this. Come on. Still waiting for Windows containers on Linux host. Never happen. MS guys claim the Linux is loved now, but that's just a facade. No. It's look at this. I'm going to have to whatever. No. Windows running on Linux, there's a licensing challenge that they have there. How do they know that you're properly licensed to host those Windows containers? There's challenges there around they want to make sure that they're selling Windows, that you purchase Windows. I see what you did there, Isaac. Yeah. No, this machine was up to date. I was programming and using Visual Studio on this machine just a few days ago, so I'm not quite sure why it choked on me. The best thing about Docker and Kubernetes for me is that you are not coupled to cloud providers. Very good point, my 987. Using Kubernetes with Google Compute, Azure, and IBM Cloud, and it is more or less the same setup. Yeah. Yep, absolutely. DevLead says you should have Jessica Dean on the show next Friday. So I didn't post the event yet. Next Friday. So while we're waiting for this to install, we are running a full DevOps workshop. I'm not going to deal with this one. And it really wants me to update all of these. Let's do this. No, I don't want to install. No, bad idea. Bad idea. I shouldn't have to update. It's... Okay, I guess I have to update. Hey, Barry Carey. Thank you for the follow. I appreciate that. 15.8.2 was released this week. I spent the earlier part of the week doing nothing but updates because of low bandwidth. 15.7.4 way behind. Hey, wait a sec. I have 15.9 Preview 2 installed, buddy. All right? You don't even have access to that yet. And I've got it. But for some reason, it won't start it. So, look at that. We're going to have to... All right. That makes me feel terrible because it's not ready to go for me. Okay. Do I dare try while that's running? Let's move this over here. Yeah, go do your thing. That's going to be downloading for a while. VS Code. Let me jump through. Let me do it over here on this machine. So let's minimize and get rid of some of this. Now this one, let's see if Visual Studio Installer is going to complain here. I hear Notepad makes a great... Oh. I see what you did there, Cyberlash. Now look at this. You're kidding. You're kidding. I literally can't use any of my Visual Studios. Is this one going to work? I tell you. All right. So let's see. The instructions for Docker said I should be able to flip-flop back and forth. So let's do that. Let's try switch to Windows containers. You're about to switch. Existing containers will continue to run, but you will not be able to manage them until you switch back. Yeah, go ahead. Now, let's see. It should come up here in just a second. Yeah, that's all running fine. And I'm not going to do an update there. All right. The problem containers aim to solve. Yes, I know, R.H. Sumner. I know. It even supports Unix line endings. When the stream ends, Fritz is going to find some VS friends on a work Slack Teams. But yes. Oh, yes. Some of them watch. All right. Make it feel like it's a real work environment. I know. Real. All right. Let's close that. Let's do a new application here. So my Windows containers are running. I'm going to start a new project so that we can do ASP.NET Core, but running on Windows, right? Running on .NET Framework. So let's call this Net Framework Demo. All right. And there we go. I can choose, because ASP.NET Core runs on both .NET Core and .NET Framework, I can choose my framework version here. So I'll choose .NET Framework with ASP.NET Core 2.1. And let's just build a web application so that I've at least got a nice friendly user interface that I can point back to. All right. So there it is. It's up and running. It can run on IIS. I can also run it on Kestrel. Looks like the beginnings of Visual Studio Bingo. Is there going to be F#? Think not, right? I'm not going to be doing any F# today, no. Do any of my colleagues maintain the Windows 10 Mail app? No. I do not work with the folks who work on the Mail app. There it is, applications running. So we know that this application works. Nothing really to see there. When I want to add, well, let's look at the CS project file just so I can show, right? This is running on .NET Framework 4.7.2. That's the latest version of .NET Framework. That was issued with the fall release of Windows. Anyone got other bitrate options other than 1080p? Ah, no. The encoders dropped. There was an F# Friday question. Yeah, I really want to listen to F# Friday, but I can't make it that time without delaying it 2 hours. Yeah, Fuel Snable, I'm going to be a couple weeks here before we get back to F# Friday. But we will be getting back into it. And Automod is being very strange today. Alright, so this application, it's .NET Framework 4.7.2, runs just fine here on Windows, but I want to put it into a container. What you can do is add Docker support, and this will generate everything to run. Now, it's funny that it says Windows or Linux. .NET Framework only runs on Windows. So I'm going to say, put this into a Windows container, and it generates this Docker file, right? You see it here. This is the contents of it. And if we look at this, that's weird. Why doesn't it have a name of a container here? I'm wondering. Now I'm wondering if there's a problem with it dealing with that framework version. Let's take a look. Let's back this off. I'm going to take this all the way back to 4.7. Okay, so Net 4.7 is the framework moniker for .NET Framework 4.7. Right, that Net 4.7 you saw there. Let me try add. Where'd it go? Docker support. Yes, Windows. And it's still. That's interesting, because that's not right. It doesn't know what to pick for that framework version. That's what I thought, and it's the same thing here. It doesn't know what to use for that. Fortunately, I have an idea of what to use, because the framework stuff. Okay, I chose /Microsoft out there. There we go. So here's all of Microsoft's framework images, right? All of the images, right? There's Nano Server, Windows Server Core. I don't think .NET is the right one. ASP.NET, I believe, is the one we want to be using here. And this will get you, there it is, 4.7.2 Windows Server Core 1803. Who knew? So what I should be able to do is reference Microsoft /ASP.NET and pull in that container. So let's go get it first, so that we've got it here. 4.6.1's a little bit further back than I want to go. And you can see, these are not small containers here. They contain all of Windows. And, I mean, Windows Server Core is not small. Yep, and with Admin Center, you can control Windows servers. Absolutely. Is the base container itself really strange? It's not loading quite right at all. You think depending on the operating system that build or run the containers, the image specified may need to be changed. What did they do? I'm control clicking. I'm clicking with feeling and it's not actually going anywhere. Oh, it just didn't open. And now I've got like 6 copies of it. All right, there we go. Volume share, well, no, I don't have that problem. Here's Docker. Shared drives is not even a feature on this, so let's... Unable to start, no. Error specific to networking, no. No, so, no. That is not helping, but it is not generating a Docker image to connect to. So there's a problem, there's a bug we need to open. No, it's not a 2-month delay, Fuel Snable. We're just running into some scheduling issues that I need to be sure that I address because I want to make sure I deliver a high quality bit of content there. So I should be able to reference Microsoft ASP.NET, and this is actually, oh, it's grabbing latest, which is going to be the 4.7.2. So we should be good with that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this to say Microsoft ASP.NET 4.7.2. And then it should build, and then I thought there was a runtime as well. Yeah. I don't see it. Because there was a movement that we had to make sure that there was a set of containers that had the SDK in it, and another set of containers that didn't, so that it didn't properly open. Yeah, from blank, right, that's a problem. That's a bug there, Ashley. So I was looking for, I know there's one more down there. I was looking for this, but Microsoft/.NET actually brings in .NET Core. I don't want to bring in .NET Core. I want to get the .NET Framework version. So that's not the right one. And there's ASP.NET Core, SQL Server Linux, but this is Microsoft ASP.NET. I thought there was a build version of this. Let's go over to the source repository. So this is nice. You can actually see how this thing is built. And here's the folks that are building it, and here's the different tags that they're constructing and managing. Information about the various instances of it. So 4.7.2 is the one that you should be using at this point. Because you can actually dial it up and down to the different versions of the framework. Okay, so 4.7.2. So I guess I'm putting the same deal here. Now the question is, does it have .NET Restore inside of it? I guess we'll find out in just a little bit. The latest .NET SDK containers seem to not ship Git anymore. Well, that's okay. It's easy to just add those few additional config lines to the .NET Star image you want to use. I thought everything is in .NET now. Well, I'm not... So ASP.NET Core runtime will... Let me go back. Right, if I go to... Where is it? So there's ASP.NET Core build. Okay. Now, this will build when using the ASP.NET Core image and use the .NET image as its base. If you look at the .NET, this is .NET Core, not .NET Framework. Yes, it'll run on Windows, but it's not .NET Framework. We need to get the .NET Framework version, which means that, yeah, the ASP.NET Core build Docker image should do it, but this doesn't have .NET Framework, right? And then adding compiled output, right? We're crossing here. Go to hub Dockerfile on the ASP.NET site. Server core will have .NET too. Yes, it does. Why do we need the full framework and not core? I'm confused about. So the question, Ashley, that we received was around building a ASP.NET Core application on .NET Framework and putting it into a container. If we were building .NET Core, ASP.NET Core, it's very clear, core, put it into a Linux container, put it onto a Windows Nano container, makes sense. But if you're building for .NET Framework, different. Got a little bit of changes that you need to bring in here. Strangely, the latest. Have a look at the few additional config. So, hello, Ancient Coder. EJ Vision. No problem. No problem. I'm glad we can make that clear for folks. So let's see. We should... Downloads are complete. It's extracting now. We'll have that available in just a little bit. But what this should do... All right, the question is the .NET Core is the .NET SDK inside that image? And we'll find out. No. It isn't? I think you're right. It's not in there. .NET run, Docker run TI ASP.NET and look. I don't... Not that one. Over here. So I'm still waiting for it to download. For it to extract. Come on. It's like sitting here. You need the SDK image to build. Ah. So if we go over to the SDK image, which, let's see, Microsoft, where's the SDK? Don't see it. Because the SDK literally has everything in it. .NET Framework samples? No. Let's see. I don't see it. Or was it on the front page? You have to build your own one for full framework. There is no published image that will work. Yeah. That's what I'm afraid of here. Yeah, I don't see ASP.NET. Let's go to page 4. Oh, Lithix, thanks so much for the subscription. I appreciate that, and I'll match that subscription. We'll make a donation to Girl Develop It. Thank you for using a tier 1 sub. Oh, that's awesome. And you're gonna get the .NET bot emote that you can use here and in any other Twitch chat room. So you can show off how cool you are. Thank you so much. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Why don't I see the SDK? But what the heck is PumRP? Fair? Come on. Search ASP.NET SDK, or is it .NET SDK? No. No. ASP.NET Core Build. Contains images that are used to compile, publish ASP.NET Core applications inside the container. Okay, so this is the one that has the SDK in it. There it is, 209 SDK. So if we would need it on Windows Server, so I think maybe we need to build from this. No, that's Nano Server. Maybe this one, so that we can get it on .NET Framework, so it has .NET Framework available. So let's try. You're really not going to let me copy that name, are you? Ugh. All right, go back. I don't even want to think about that. Nope. You're really not going to... Come on now! So let's grab that one. Good. Okay, so this is Microsoft ASP.NET Core -build. ASP.NET Core build is deprecated. That's an old SDK. Latest SDKs are under .NET. Well, that's what it said here. Is it going to give me... Okay, so here's the 1803 tags. Okay. So I don't want Nano Server. I want the Server Core version. So I think I want this one. So I wonder if I do the 21401 SDK and then 21 runtime, 213 runtime down here. So let's grab this SDK, which means I have the wrong... Oh, darn it. Let me start Karnak so you can see what I'm doing over here in the corner. So we need to change this to Microsoft.NET. Okay, so we'll go .NET. So that'll get us the SDK. No, wait a sec. For the build, we want this version. Okay, and then for the actual run, we should be able to go like that, right? Now, how do I make sure that I get the Windows Server version? It should just do it. Those are .NET Core again. .NET Framework. So... if I go there... Images running .NET Framework applications on Windows Server Core. Oh, there's the 472 SDK. All right, hang on. Let's try. So, does that does that have? See, I'm gonna have to pull that, right? Let's grab that command, and we want to pull 472-SDK, and we'll check and see if our .NET command line is in there. Oh, now we gotta wait for another gig to download. Wonderful. So, write this back and forth here. You can build 472 on .NET Core on Windows. So let's try that. So I have .NET Core 2.1 runtime. This is... No. Right, so .NET dash. I feel like I want... So I'm over here, latest versions. I need the 2.1 SDK. Right? I think we can agree on that. I need the SDK. But I need to run that on... Yeah, I need the 472 runtime and the .NET Core SDK. And I feel like if I do that on 1803, the 472 runtime is there because it's Windows Server. It just comes with it. You don't need to fight with that. So, just wait for .NET Standard 2.1 and all that versioning confusion. Oh, dude. Yeah. So, and the multi-arch tags, yes, should take care of resolving, oh, this is the Windows version of this that we're installing because I'm on the Windows runtime of Docker. So, the question is, do I want that one? And I'm actually just going to duplicate these. I was going to say, why aren't you pasting? So let's duplicate these. Right? Because the other one we're saying, well, it could be that one, is .NET Framework. And does the -SDK have Yeah, what is .NET Framework? Okay. .NET Framework console Docker sample. ASP.NET Web Forms Docker sample. ASP.NET MVC Docker sample. Excuse me. There. Okay, so there's the Docker file for the runtime, and it's literally. It's worthless, right? What's in the SDK? We should be able to see what's put into the SDK here. NuGet command line to go get NuGet exe. Okay. VS build tools. Yeah, this is Visual Studio build tools. This is not the .NET Core SDK. The .NET SDK. I'm not even going to touch .NET Standard 2.1. Yeah, back to luck-based developing, trying random combinations till it magically works. That feels bad. I feel like this is the right combination because it'll be running. We're going to build. We're going to build on a machine that has .NET Framework 4.7 installed, and then we're going to deploy to a machine. Yeah, that should have it. So this is getting that 4.7.2 SDK, which I'm nearly positive is wrong. Let's try running this and see what it says. I agree. That SDK statement here on these Docker Hub pages is misleading. Why can't Visual Studio build the Docker file for us? Yeah, it was supposed to, but we've confused it. So I clicked start there. What's it doing? Pulling from Microsoft/.NET. All right, so it's getting this version now. Great. Just what I need, more containers. Downloading, and the fact that it's not updating and looking nice like it does over here in the console is a little bit of a problem. It tried. Yes, it gave it the old try and didn't get there. All right, here we go. Pull complete, intermediate container. Come on, build. So that says it successfully built. That was really quick, and I don't believe that for a second. Yeah. That didn't run quite right. So let's back up and see what happened here. Build. All right. Successfully built. Downloaded newer image. Work directory app expose 80. Okay. And then it did a Docker run with a remote debugger. It didn't even get down into this. So that's a problem. We confused it. Oh, yes. Yes, we did. So let's back up a couple here and go to, this is Net Framework demo. All right. And if I go down into that. So now if I do a Docker, let's try this. Docker build -t net framework. It's supposed to be all lowercase. Net framework demo. Let's call this live and do it. Let's see what it's. Let's see if we can see what's going on here. Okay, so it set up the runtime container. Okay. And now it's getting the SDK container, right? The container that'll have the .NET command line tools there. Docker pulling a leg edition. Yes, there it is. That's exactly what that is. Yes, Docker. So Docker does things in layers, and it keeps a cache of each layer. This way, if you don't change anything from one layer to the next, it won't rerun those layers, right? It has this hash that it stores that indicates here's what this thing was, and if there's no change, it won't rebuild it, and then your Docker builds in the future will run through much, much faster. Dad jokes are us. Yes, they are. Woo! They're amazing. Here is an example. Oh yeah. I wonder who wrote that Dockerfile.
But what I do have...
I do.
...are a very particular set of skills.
Very particular.
Skills I've acquired over a very long career.
Over a very long career. And it doesn't involve writing Docker files. Yes, DevLead wrote that one. And I have the one inside of Stream Tools I wrote. Here we go. Finish extracting. Right, so this is pulling it out of the Docker hub, right? That repository, that registry in the sky, in the cloud that we're using. Come on, why does everything sit like this? I have a feeling there's like a Windows anti-malware scan that's running that's just stopping everything. Right? Part of me wants to find out where that is and rip it out. Right-click it. Okay, fine. Let's see here. Downloaded newer image, work directory. Copy. Okay, copy net framework demo, CS proj to net framework demo. System cannot find the path specified. Fair? What do you mean you can't find it? Work directory source. Huh. Interesting. Because it should have copied up. Those are Linux paths. You're right about the freezes the output in the console. Yeah. But doing work directory source did work right there. Let's see. Yeah, the slash is going the wrong way, but it did work. Right, so let's do a Docker run IT, and this is Microsoft.net 21401-SDK. Oh, I need to exec. No, I should be able to run and just jump right into it. There we go. So I'm in here. Right, and I can make a directory and I can wander around in here. Right, so it's effectively doing that, but it worked. So I'm going to exit, and I'm back out at my machine. Yeah. And echo 1. Alright, so let's change this around. So let's make that C source. And we need to change the slash. Let's see if that works, right? So we make it Windows. Windows should handle both slash directions. And most Windows tools don't care. Let's just see. Now, we didn't even get past that last time, so let's try building it now. Working directory C source is invalid. Okay, so if we just do that. Try again. Okay. Unexpected end of statement while looking for matching double. Okay, so it's seeing the backslash, and it thinks I'm escaping, is what I see is happening there. Look at that. Woohoo! Don't you have to? Yeah, I think you're right, Norseman. There is no pre-published container from MS that will work. You have to build them yourself. I've repeatedly asked the ASP.NET Core on full framework image, been told there's not enough interest for it to be maintained. Let's hang on. Let's get through this and see what's. Let's see what happens here. I'm just going to put these slashes in just to get us there. See if we can get it to build. Nope. Ooh. Ouch. Ouch. Dockerfile's already in the same folder. You're right. You're right. In which case I would need to be running it from up here. In that context, which is just weird, but still. System cannot find the file specified, but it's going net framework demo, net framework demo.csproj. It's ignoring the slashes. But I kind of agree with Ashley here. Let's just jump into that folder, and I don't need that. Copying everything over. This is weird. You're in the wrong directory, yeah. Just run it from there with slash. I'd swap all the slashes back. I kind of agree with you. That one at least I have to cop back. Right, at least it's creating the work directory now. If I change it and do that... Right, and that. Okay, now it found it. Now it's running .NET Restore. Good. All right, so we did. So the slashes are confusing there. Restoring packages. All right, this looks promising. Same for work dirt. Yeah, we're gonna have to flip that one. All right. So that'll crunch right there. Da, 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 da. So these. Right, it's gonna choke on that, and that, and that. Okay, let's see what happens. Ooh. Okay. No. Okay, hang on. The reference for assemblies were not found. To resolve this, install the SDK or targeting pack for the framework version, or retarget your application to a version of the framework for which you have the SDK or targeting pack installed. Note that assemblies will be resolved from the global assembly cache, and you'll have to be put in place of reference assemblies. Okay. So here's what we're seeing. You need the build pack. You need the SDK in order to install for 4.7. Let me change this back to and this is saying you're running on a system, right? We're not grabbing one that has .NET the build pack for .NET Framework 4.7. Never been this close. Ha ha. Ha 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 ha. And you're telling me I need to go like that? All right. But I'm not using the right version here. So let's, I'm not gonna, I think we can step away from that one. Let's take a look. So here's, right, .NET Framework 4.7.2 1803 SDK. So this doesn't have the .NET SDK installed, but it does have everything else. And if I tried to use this one, get there, thank you. The 472 SDK, while it will have the headers there, it doesn't have the command line, right? If I replaced and we pulled, right, if we did this, try to build that. So I have the SDK. It's trying to run .NET Restore. Is .NET SDK there? Steal the build PS1 from my core wiki PR. That's not a bad idea, dev lead. That's not a bad idea at all. Need more coffee? All right, Norseman, we'll wait. Not a problem. We'll stay here and wait for you. Go ahead. Don't mind us. Let me know when Norseman gets back. All right, is he back? YouTube's probably going to mute that, but I think we had fun. That's building. That's the 472. So, and he's back. All right, Norseman, do you have a good cup of coffee? You all loaded up, ready to go? I really needed a wait music button. Yes, I did. Sky Hoshi says, wait for you, wait for me. Yes. Yes. Let's see. I need more theme music without getting in trouble with the folks at YouTube. Okay. So check this out, right? This is building with 471. Is that Hamsot? Or is that... Yeah, Hamsot. Thank you for the follow. That is instant coffee. Either that or you got a Keurig or something. Coffee-driven development. Yeah. Is C# a good first language? Asks Draco401. Draco, I think it is, because you can use C# in lots of different places. It teaches you the basics of object-oriented design. You can, using .NET Core, using Xamarin, using tools like Blazor now, you can actually write C# code and it'll run everywhere. So whether it's a Raspberry Pi, it's your Apple Watch, it's your iPhone, it's your Android device, it's a big server in the cloud, it's your Windows desktop, it's your Linux machine. You can write C# and it just works everywhere. You can make anything. Oh, Sinad Meskin makes a good point. And they write games with C#. Pokemon Go, that's written with C#. Hearthstone, the card game, written with C#. It's a great language. So until you figure out exactly what you want to specialize in, because you're going to want to specialize in something. Thank you for the follow, Draco. When you figure out, I want to specialize in game development. Okay, well, it might make sense then to take what you've learned around programming with C# and apply it towards C++ and get a little bit more nitty-gritty on that. I want to build web applications. Okay, we'll take what you've learned about C# and apply it to TypeScript and JavaScript, and those object-oriented concepts will get in a little bit further. And what's the best way to learn C#? There's a number of videos, training videos, that'll get you in right at the beginning. Our friend Dev Chatter is doing a really nice series on getting started with C# you could check out. I'm in a little bit higher level at this point, a little bit between beginner to intermediate that I like to show. But there's a number of good resources out there on the web that you can get. I couldn't name a book off the top of my head, but I've got this minute, got my Twitter developer approval. Oh my gosh, Smab, it took a whole month. Wow. I think you missed me for following because the PayPal page killed my stream. Yes, Lithics, I did thank. Yes, absolutely. There it is. And the sub. Thank you so much for the sub. I appreciate that. And of course, we'll match your sub. And make a donation to Girl Develop It. So. But Zarnal makes a good point. Watch the stream. You'll see us use some things here. And grab some code. Break something. It's okay. It's okay to break something. And then figure out how to fix it. And together we fix things here on stream. And we've got a very friendly chat room, nice community here. We're always happy to help each other out. So, let's recap and go back to where we are here. I changed this so that we're using the .NET runtime as a base. That's what we're going to deploy to, is the .NET 2.1 runtime. And that's really what the .NET SDK is running on. So .NET Framework 4.7.2 as build with the SDK, and it looks like, right, it ran .NET Restore against that CS Proj and ran properly with the 4.7.2 SDK. So I'm hopeful here. No problem, Draco. Thanks so much for the questions. I'm always happy to help out new folks that want to learn, want to get involved in our community. And please, don't be afraid to ask questions. There's lots of friends here in the chat room happy to help out. We've got a Discord with folks happy to answer questions, and we're always here on the show, ready to look at some code together, break some things like this, and get better at it. So this looks like it built, restore completed, copied everything in work directory, and then it went to do the build. Restore completed. Project does not contain a static main suitable for an entry point. Okay. This is interesting to me. Oh my gosh. Thank you for the follow. Is that... I see an English translation here on my Twitch dashboard. Is that Puka? Welcome, Puka. Thank you for joining us. I'm sorry, I'm terrible at reading the character languages. Did you only copy across the CS Proj but none of the source files? Might be worth checking inside the container. Good question. So we run .NET Restore against the project file, and then we copy the files in. But did it copy it into the wrong folder? Because it... No, copy ... should have copied in everything, right? This is... Here, it copied the files in at that point. Work directory, so it moved down into Net Framework Demo. And then it went to do the build on the project. Do I have any knowledge on PS scripting? PS, I'm guessing you're referring to PowerShell scripting. I do not. That's something that I do need to work on, though. However, we have a bunch of friends here in the chat room that might be able to help you out. So if you throw your question out there, we might be able to help you. Can I go back to the Dockerfile? Don't bother. Yeah, so it's copying the files in at this point. Right at this point, we should have all those files in there. And I could actually comment the rest of this out and see what the contents of that folder looks like. Can you see the base and build parts separately? Switch the copy in the work directory. Well, I'm on the source. I should get everything copied in. Let's do this. I can't IT into the container yet because it didn't build properly, right? If I look at my Docker images, right, it'll show me here, these are kind of in flux, right? Brown 121407, thank you for the follow. So I need to let the build finish, right? It errored out and it threw away the container. Right, unless it's this one. I mean, right? Can I do that? Can I Docker run IT? IT is interactive terminal, right? Effectively give me a command line for this thing. And let's go into BB. Let's see what we get. I should put in the delete command so it deletes the container when we're done. Let's take a look and see what's in here. Any good projects you can make to learn, says Draco. There's the CS proj file, but it didn't copy anything in, right? So to Ashley's question, maybe it didn't copy in. Let's check out the container. Did it actually copy the files in? It didn't copy the files in, right? What do we have here? That's not directory. There it is. So it copied the things into the wrong folder. Interesting. All right. So I think the at least fix point I think was on the right point there. Yep. Told you. All right, thanks. Thanks a lot. Let's try that again. Let's clear the fold, clear that. Build it. Let's go. It is awesome that you can get in there and look. You're right, Lithics. All right, so now it's copying it in. And notice, see how it jumped through everything real quick? It's that whole restore process, because we didn't change it, it just ran. I've got 2 copy stars. Maybe. Make a chatbot. That's an interesting thing to interact with. Our friend Kevin Griffin, Draco, is building a chatbot that just runs at the command line. Just answers on the console so that he can navigate around there. So that's something you could. Did it work? Did it work? Did we find it? Come on. Because I run from net framework demo instead of just. That's too many confusings. Am I familiar with the Chocolatey project? Yes, I am familiar with Chocolatey. Is that Rob Reynolds? Is that his name? That's building that. Really great stuff to make deploying and building systems, configuring systems, a heck of a lot easier. Really, it's the apt-get for Windows. Normally, you have everything in the source, no subfolder for the work directory. Yeah, look at this. Look at this. Come on. Come on. I mean, release net 4.7. I mean, this looks. APT does much more. For a community project that's been bolting onto these things that weren't built for that APT type of install, it isn't, but it's getting there. You know, they've really brought it somewhere. But this ran. It finished. I mean, is it a thing now? Did we figure this out properly? There it is. Net Framework demo live. So if I Docker run, let's not look at the ports yet. But it's Net Framework demo live. Let's see what it tells us here on the command line. That's not right. That's not right. Okay. From base as final. So that's the 2.1. .NET Net Framework demo. Well, is it possible that that doesn't have the 4.7.2 in it? 443 meg, huge. Is it? For a .NET Framework application running on, right, that's a Windows machine. That's a heck of a lot better. I'm wondering if we need to change that to 4.7.2. To .NET-Framework 4.7.2. The name of the .NET app. Well, what's in it? What? Right, let's What's the command to delete at the end? Is it just -D? Not detach, but I want to remove it at the end, or is it -R? -RM. Yeah, there we go. All right. Docker images. So if we do docker run -it -rm net framework, I don't want to, yeah, net framework demo live. And it should jump me into the command line. Okay. So there's the error that we were getting. Right? And so there's the application, but it's got, so, right, here's another problem that we've run into. It ran .NET Publish, but where did it go? Right? It outputted, I don't think we published properly here because all of our CS files and stuff are here. Look at the path. Oh, wait a sec. Yeah. Right, I'm not in my machine. I'm not inside the container. Yeah. I think I need a Docker exec. What do you mean there's no such container? So it's before the image name, and you need to publish to /publish. I thought we did that. Publish from build as publish, .NET publish, net framework demo, release configuration, output to /app. Copy from publish /app to dot. Yeah. -O to /publish. Okay. Tell you what, we'll do that. Let's give that a shot. From basis final, from publish /publish. Let's try and rebuild then. See if we can get that. So we're really just trying to, this app that we're building, we're just trying to build the default here. Oh, I need to change context. Right, so that is and here we go. Come on. I'm a lot more optimistic about this now than I was earlier because I agree with what DevLead was saying, that it feels like .NET, the .NET SDK and .NET Framework, the combination of the two was almost verboten. Hey, Tall Pants, good to see you. And this is not Alpine. There are Alpine images available. But no, none of the. I'm not touching any of the Alpine images right now with my stuff. With Stream Tools. Copy the content of that to your run image entry point. What is the editor you're using? Do I need to write code? You can write with. You can write with any text editor for .NET. We recommend Visual Studio Code. That's completely free and open source. I think you'll have a good time using it. I'm using Visual Studio here, but you'll see me switch over to Visual Studio Code frequently, and Community Edition is always free. So, particularly for folks that are trying to learn. Yeah, who was it who was saying entry point? Smab, what do you mean with the entry point? Oh, passing in that. I hadn't thought of that. There we go. .NET Framework successfully built. Okay. So now if we try to, right, if we just try and run it, yeah, no dice on that. Okay, so if I, right now, what was it with the entry point? The runtime image I'm trying to use is Nano Server. Nano Server doesn't have full framework. Right, that's this one. But not just that, but I'm also not, it doesn't have the .NET SDK there, is what I'm seeing. What is it with the entry point? You can use entry point to run command. I use it for Bash and Linux containers. Let me take a look at that. I haven't tried entry point. Or is it you're referring to the Docker run? I haven't used that. Let's. I don't. Oh, entry point. Override default entry point of the image. Oh. Well, that makes sense. All right. So let's do entry. Right? Was it entry dash point or just entry point? All one word. All one word. Okay. So if I do this, it should get me right into the command line. No. Feels bad. Probably need to put my command, my image at the end, right? Which was net framework demo live. Okay, cool. So I'm inside. Oh, look at this. C app. That doesn't feel good. That looks wrong. But, I mean, there's my code. That looks reasonable. Yeah, so I've got an app inside of an app folder. Okay, we'll figure that out in a bit. But can I run .NET? It runs. Okay. Yep, I agree. Smablet's.net it. Run it! Absolutely, Lithix. Let's do it. Let's do it. Oh, it's right. Net framework. Oh, well, look at that. It's got an exe. It didn't do anything. I mean, it's right there. Net framework demo exe, right? That's not very helpful. Doesn't do anything for me. We're almost there. What happens if I .NET it? It feels like the wrong thing to do. Net framework demo exe. Host policy required to execute the application was not found. Ooh. If this should be a framework-dependent app, add the runtime config JSON file specifying the appropriate framework. Ooh. Ooh. I think we're getting somewhere. Yeah, and it did bring over the runtime. I mean, look at it. The whole runtime's here. Gosh. Really? Okay, so host policy isn't over here, it said. Yeah, host policy DLL. Ah. All right. This app being in the wrong folder is annoying me. Copy from publish. So yeah, so let's grab /publish/app, I think is where it's in the wrong place here. Let's exit this and it should delete that container for us. Good. I'm going to rebuild it. So at least clear that up. Do you need to define the work directory twice? Don't think so. Self-contained will generate the exe. Right. Let's see. See line 6 and 22. Work directory app. Work directory. Oh no. Fine. Do it again. Or, and then let's try get rid of that. Good catch. Thank you. Let's see if we got this. It's the output O on the .NET command. Yeah. Oh, shoot. You're right. I forgot to change this to get rid of that. Wrong key. Change this to exe. Let's see what we get. I don't know if it's escaping. Let's see what happens here. Copying the files in, all right. Come on. You know you want to do it. You know you want to do it.
It can be done exactly how I want it.
It will be done.
The only question is, are you the man to do it?
Yes, I am. We're going to get this thing working. The .NET is for core apps. Yeah. Yeah. Well, you can actually generate that exe everywhere. And it should just work everywhere. Let's see what happens here. If the worker is app and you run build and output, it's going to split it out to app again. You now have Docker running on your Surface Go? Lithics, you are crazy, man. You are... It's like you killed someone on that thing. We are in Windows full framework land. Yep. Yep. And that's the challenge that we're trying to solve here. And actually, let's do this. Let's do this. Where'd it go? I'm going to send a message here. Building is P. Oh, come on. Copious Soul, thank you so much for the follow. And looks like Retro Bear, thank you so much for the cheer. I really appreciate that, and we'll match that cheer and send a donation over to Girl Develop It. That's really great. Thank you so much. And that actually puts you up on the scoreboard here as well. For the month's high cheers. And we're struggling. Let's see if we get... I might have a friend stop in the chat room here in just a minute. Using my refrigerator as a build server. Your refrigerator is going to turn into an oven. It's going to be working so hard here. That looks like it ran properly. Let's try and run the project. Let's let it run normally. So, right, this is what we were saying earlier, is it doesn't look like it wants to do the right thing there. So let's go back to that Docker run. Not build. Let's see if we can jump in there and get this running. Fridge as build server. Awesome idea. Let's see here. Come on. It is a mystery. It is a mystery why it's not output anything. So now everything's in the app folder. We got that lined up right. And all of our DLLs, literally everything to run. And there's ASP.NET Core, Microsoft Extensions, Net Framework Demo. There's our stuff. System Diagnostics, System IO, System Net. All right, all the goo that we need to run. That's fine. But if I do Net Framework Demo exe, I run into host policy DLL is not there. Add the CApp Net Framework Demo runtime config JSON file. Specifying do I have that? Net Framework Demo runtime config. No. .json file specifying the appropriate framework. Alright, let's exit that. I feel like we're really, really close here, you know? If we go into bin here, yeah. Ugh. I put this down in 472, so let's look at that one. And I don't see the runtime config here. I also don't see a host policy. But if from here, if I run Net Framework Demo exe, that works. Yeah, least fix point. Yeah. It does run here. Huh. Okay. What do we got? So it's interesting. It's interesting. Okay, so that works, and it's running Kestrel, and it's all self-contained in hosting. But why does it run? Let's see what RH Sumner has for us here. Well, Stack Overflow. The actual problem is missing an emit entry point property. Yeah, where does that go? And this is from 2016. Once this is added, the compiler will let you know about any other problems like a missing static void main. But that emit entry point is old. The file app name runtime config JSON is needed in the same path with the TFM, the framework, the version. So your framework image with -d and use docker copy to copy that on it and use docker exec command to see what's inside. Copy that folder in your base image and see if it runs there. Yeah, there's something. So the TFM that we're using isn't Net Core App. It's going to be Net 472. But I don't have this app name runtime config JSON, right? I have Net Framework Demo Deps JSON. And we've got that output. It is generating the exe for us here. Let's take a look, see here. This one. So actually, look at that. Should we have? Now, it's interesting. Debug type full. So I have a friend here saying that we should change this to output type and put exe here. I wanted this to be 472. I'm going to make that 472. Let's try and rebuild and see what happens. Yeah. Where is it? Let's rebuild that container. Right, because our container is referencing the 472 SDK. Let's see if that builds properly, so that we get the entry point. Should be launching the exe. You shouldn't be launching the exe with .NET. It didn't. You should just be running the exe directly like this when it's a .NET Framework version. But it's weird. You need the .NET 2.1 runtime version container so that you have the .NET SDK so that you can build ASP.NET Core, so that you can host it. But you need the .NET. I feel like this could even be just Framework 472 because I'm just hosting. So, not myself 74. Thanks so much for the follow. Appreciate you joining us here. Let's see, where are we at with the build? Going. Yeah, while that's finishing building, I'm going to change this to that. So that when we deploy, we have the 472 there. Yeah, for the runtime. Yeah. Oh, thank you, not myself. I appreciate you joining. We're working out. We think we're working out how to build an application, an ASP.NET Core application that uses full framework on Windows containers. And we run into just a couple of challenges here. And the first one was that the container name, the image that we're supposed to base off of, wasn't filled in when we right-clicked on our project and said add Docker capabilities here. So we've forced one in here. We chose one out of the Docker Hub, and we weren't sure which one we needed. And it turns out .NET Framework 472 SDK has the .NET SDK in it, so that we can do our build properly here. And you can see up here, it runs .NET Restore against that properly, and it is bringing back all the things we need to run ASP.NET Core on top of .NET Framework. So now it's copying out everything to publish, and hopefully, we'll have this thing running just in the nick of time to end the stream, transfer over to our friend Mark Miller, who's actually starting to stream in just a few minutes here, or he may have started already. Come on. Did I? I did it. I did that thing where it's interesting, right? I keep doing that where I select something and the console freezes and it doesn't tell you that it's frozen and that it's got more stuff to show you. I'd like to see a little glyph in the corner that says more content, press enter. So let's try running our container now and see if we get anything out of this. I'm just going to run it directly. No, nothing. Nothing. Let's run it with that entry point here and see if we can see what's going on. Net framework demo exe, and it just drops right there. If I say .NET net framework demo exe, now it actually tries to do something, and it's still not doing anything. Interesting. I feel like we're right there. You think I need to use the ASP.NET image for the runtime? All right. Let's give that a try. Oh, not there. So that's .NET Framework for .NET 4.7.2. If we try the ASP.NET image, which is not ASP.NET Core build, I believe it's just Microsoft/ASP.NET, and that'll get you the full framework 4.7.2 versions of things. I think I want, if I just specify Microsoft/ASP.NET 4.7.2, we'll have it like that. One more time. Let's see if that runs. You link to gist with a sample Docker file. What do we got? From right, so this will run if you're doing normal standard .NET Framework 4.7.2, ASP.NET 4.7.2, web forms, that type of thing. Use the same one from build that you use on base SDK. Should have everything. And yes, Brendan has Cassandra Ferris on today. Yep. Net Framework Demo DLL is not what's being output. It's actually outputting a exe. And you can see that right there. So we have the exe that it's outputting. We should be able to just run with that exe. And it's not for us. It's not working. It just comes right back. So we'll try running this on that ASP.NET instance. Now the ASP.NET image actually hosts IIS. I don't need to host IIS. How are the two containers different? Asks Tropoff. The one contains all the SDK stuff in it. Has all the DLLs and things installed and available for you there that you need to build. So now if I try running it, I'm hopeful. Feels like it's starting something. What is the difference between .NET Framework 4.7.2, hey, and .NET Framework 4.7.2 runtime? I don't know off the top of my head, but that looks like it's running. Yes, success. Woo! I think we got it. I think we got it. All right, so now let's push through the ports, right? So let's just push 5,000 to 5,000 so that I can navigate to localhost 5,000 and get to this. So let's put this over here, that over there, one of these, localhost 5,000. That's not right. Show me the money. That didn't used to work. The ASP.NET image didn't have the core runtime in it before. I'm not running on ASP.NET Core. I'm running on full framework. So, right, this is ASP.NET Core compiled against .NET Framework and running on a Windows container. Come on. So, well, that's not going anywhere fast. Because this should be connecting through to that because I set up the thing appropriately. Let's cancel this and okay. Let's go right outside in. So let's try pointing this from 80 to 5,000, because that's where it's listening here. And then just to make sure it's somewhere different. No, HTTPS is not being served here. Only 5,000. Do you have HTTP redirect enabled in the app? No, don't think so. It says it's configured, but it's not. That would only be in development mode. In production, it's not doing that. I'll even shut that off for right now, just to make sure, which means that I'm going to need to rebuild. But that should run really quickly now because we've cached off everything. Let's see what happens. Expose 5,000. Okay. I think you're right on that one. Because right now it's exposing 80. I'm going to need to rebuild and then reconnect it in. But I think you're right. I think the expose is what we're missing. It was exposing the wrong port. When running on Linux. What about when running on Linux.josh? I must... any reason to not use the Alpine builds? No, I would give the Alpine builds a try. I would absolutely try it. But Windows containers versus Linux containers, this is... right, Linux containers have been preferred the way that a lot of folks prefer to use containers. The Windows containers really are a way that we want to make sure that folks who have existing applications can continue working with them and building their applications, but move into a cloud environment here. So I think we're really, really close here. Come on, finish. Do it. Where was it? Somebody just texted me. Was it the wife? No. It's my car needs to go in for inspection tonight. Yeah. Linux full framework is not an option. Will this be pushed to GitHub somewhere? Lithix, that's a great question. Really, this is the demo project? I can certainly push it to GitHub. I don't see a problem with that. Let's see. Expose is only important if you don't map the ports with -p. There is a -P for something like this. Yes, you're right. Let's run, and I will do a -P because I think you're right. Let's make sure that that port passes through. But the expose statement here punches that initial hole through the firewall and makes sure that it's exposed for us. I'm going to open another console here. Right, so there it is. It's listening. And if I say, not .NET, Docker PS, I should see, right? So it's punched. Now look at this. Look. It punched through different ports. 54308, even though I did that P, right? 54308 is pointed to 80. 54307 is pointed to 5,000. So right there is an initial thing that's going to make me... It's one of those things that makes me go, right? This is listening on 5,000. Well, it's not actually 5,000. What is the size of that image? We'll take a look at that in just a second. Let's try going to 54307. See if it actually gets through. No. I'm going to try the HTTPS. Even though I see it not referencing that over here. It'll tell you if it's listening with HTTPS, and it's not. So that's not working. Okay. The other one, it was routing was 54308. 54308. Okay, I'm getting the server. Now I'm getting the server, but I'm getting access denied. All right. If I go to 54307, right, that's trying to get into 5000, which is where Kestrel is trying to listen here. This is Kestrel. IIS is also running in this instance. Because I'm running from the ASP.NET. This is running... Kestrel's there, it's listening, it's serving, and that's it doing its thing right there. Do I already have a port 5000 listening locally? I do not, but you can clearly see Docker is reporting that it's mapping localhost 54307 to 5000 inside the container. Sure, let's run the netstat. I don't mind running that. See, I don't have anything on 5000. Can't you just only IIS? That's where I think we need to go with this, Isaac. I think you're right. So let's do an exec and jump into that. Docker exec IT, and we're going to jump into this as 50, and we're going to run command. So I'm inside the application now. There I am. And if you look at the folders here, there's app, there's inet pub. If I go into inet pub, there's root. Right? I could move my application over here. What do you think? That doesn't work. It's interesting. You know? Oh, I finally remembered how to use copycon. Can I do edit? No. Can I do notepad? No. It is possible that the server running and listening on all ports must be launch settings. Hang on, let's see what we got here with this that Ashley has. Trapoff says, sorry if I'm pushing my question, but I want to know how it works. Gosh, no problem here, Trapoff. How the two are different. Do Windows containers based on some Windows images? Yes. Windows containers are based on Windows servers. And that's right, that we're getting a Windows server running in this virtualized space that we're attaching to and working on. Docker for Windows is not mapping ports to localhost. Well, that feels bad. That's from 2016. And it says closed. Right. So I'm navigating to it and I'm getting something. Using the where was it? -P flag. I thought I saw that. Assigns a randomized port number to expose. Yes. I did not get the Windows security alert. Do I have to go to the IP address? Right, where was it? Right, the Docker machine IP. I've seen that come up before. I need to have some license to work with them then. Yes, that's why you need to run on Windows, so that it's all properly licensed back and forth. Because once you're on Windows, you're properly licensed to run it. Here it is, Docker inspect. All right, let's try running that. Let's exit this. That's behind my head, I'm sorry. Come on, exit. Containers are different from virtual machines, and big difference is they do not bundle the OS in them like virtual machines do. Something like that. It's a little bit more complex. But they do share back and forth features and processor utilization and the way the kernel is used with the host machine. And that makes them a little bit more efficient. This is just kind of hanging here. I'm dead in that window. Fine, be that way. Docker PS. It should still be out here, right? Yep. Okay. That's not right. I wanted to do this Docker inspect. See if we can get the right. And this is kind bore. Nice. So let's try going to that address. Well, that was hopeful. It said connecting. Just got on. Hey, I'm Marone. Not 5,000. Well, if I try and go to 80, I get the same internal server error that I get when I was trying to pipe through, right? When I was trying to go through the ports. So, you want me to try going to 54.307? Connecting and not getting anywhere. This isn't responding. Kestrel isn't responding. If I try going to 54.308, not getting that either. 54.308 and 54.307 are the ports that it opened here on my machine, right? Let's put that back up. Docker PS. Right? This is, right, 000, that's my machine, is being redirected to 80 on this. 54.307 is being redirected to 5,000. Try Edge and see what I get. Are you kidding? I'll do that in just a second. I'm going to execute the Docker inspect on this. So here it is running. And there's the log file, the name. It is Windows. I'm looking for the ports. Config. There's the host name. Exposed ports 5080. So those are exposed from inside the container. 5000 is being hosted on 54.307. 80 is being hosted on 54.308. So let's try going to localhost 54.307 with Edge and see what happens. That's not how you spell localhost. 54.307. No. Nothing. And 54.308 still returns the error. So, we're close. We're really close. I feel like we want to deploy to IIS anyway because we're on a .NET framework. Right? Let's step through this. We're on .NET framework. We do want to deploy to IIS. Why do I suddenly have... So that doesn't work. let's see if we can just touch this one last bit here. So ASP.NET 4.7.2 is where we're copying out to. We shouldn't have to. If we're publishing, we have a web config that goes with that. Yeah, I don't care about Kestrel as part of this. So the launch settings, you should be able to loop back and access the container. Right. So, and this is taking its good old time coming back. Let's make sure it's shut down. No. 50, 9 Charlie, 59, E3, Fox Alpha. Goodbye. Good. So I feel like instead of pushing it out to there, because we did a publish, all of that stuff is actually sitting inside of, right? We should be able to run that on IIS. So can we just go to inetpub dub root, and then our entry point is the same entry point that Ashley was suggesting earlier, where we don't actually even have an entry point. Right, we're just copying it in to that location from base, which is that workdir equals, let's make it that. And then I don't have an entry point. This might be the wrong place to ask, but does anyone know Python Django? No, I don't. I'm sorry. All right, let's see if that build works. Wrong folder now. Net framework demo. Okay, Docker build. This was net framework demo live. And then we're building it from the net framework demo folder. Let's see if we can get that copied into IIS and just run there locally. Is there curl on the image? Probably not, no. Inside the container, if there's something listening on that port. Shouldn't be. And this expose 5000 actually kind of goes away as well, right? And so does workdir app. Both of these I can get rid of. I think we're pretty close. Here we go. Come on. Every now and again, the thumbprint on my phone just doesn't want to work at all. Doesn't matter how good I put my thumb on it. All right. We got plenty of time. Plenty of time. Building, good. Right, because the web config that this generates and it puts down in there should tell it how to start and host that exe file. Hello? Hello? You can hear me, right? Okay, all of a sudden all my sound got muted. Weird. Alright, so now let's try running. And this is net framework demo. Oh, put the -p on there as well. Live. We should see it. Just getting the darn image right. Yeah, but once you have the image right, you're gonna be good. A bad luck charm for me. No, no, no. Service has been stopped. Why was it stopped? That feels weird. There it is. So 54724 is what it's listening on. Oops. Oh, there. It started. Okay. What happens if I Docker logs on that and take a look at what's going on? That's it. Ah. All right. So the service is there. All right, let's try net framework demo. Index HTML. Right, got it. Now I should be able to copy that in, right? Copy files between a container and the local file system. Bingo. Docker CP. Container source path, destination path, source path, destination. There we go. All right, Docker CP index HTML, and I'm going to put that into, what's the name of our container? Eloquent Pike. It's B6. B6 colon, and then I'm going to go /inetpub root. You're freaking kidding me. Well, that feels terrible. I like seeing when things go wrong. It's all well and good watching a polished demo, but to see how someone else debugs issues is always fascinating. Yes, it is. Do you need the hosting package for running on IIS? The hosting package. It should be there automatically. It's right. That's one of the things that comes with it. So I'm going to Docker exec it back into that thing. So this was B6, and I'm going to execute command. I need to tell it I want to be on the integrated terminal. So if I look here, right, there's a web config. That's not how you spell more. Too many arguments. More web config. No, of course not. So I can't. You're kidding me, right? It is very realistic. I assume the ASP.NET runtime would be set up to handle full framework stuff. Yes. Type is type. Will type work? Ah, okay. So it should route to ASP.NET Core module, ASP.NET Core process path, net framework demo, exe, standard log enabled false. So we could force the log. Do I have VS Code to set up to work from the command line? Yes, but I'm inside the container at this point. I can't run it. Do you have a substatus code on that 500? Might give you a clue. Good question, Naomi. So I'm going to do that. Let's hit a F12 here. Take a look at the network. Reload. No, I don't. It is IIS that's returning it, so I am bouncing off of IIS. It's not giving me any other information here. Yeah. And it's, look, powered by ASP.NET. It's not going to ASP.NET Core. I don't think that's a thing. Yeah, that's... No, we're... Yeah, turn off the non-friendly messages. I'm not even getting to that part of the parser. This is IIS that's doing this. Docker Windows full ASP.NET application. What do we got? GitHub repository. From Microsoft ASP.NET. I bet you that part is it right there. I think you're right with this to configure the new site. Lucky Man 79, thank you for the follow. I bet you that's it. Because I seem to remember if you do just a, right, so let me save this. If I do file new project, right, and I choose ASP.NET web application, right, fine, we'll call it web application 1. And if I say enable Docker, right, and I don't care what this is. The Docker file it generates, oh, the Docker file that was generated for us was completely wrong. Here it comes. Web config is only required for IIS, but I think you need to config. So, and there's our friend Glenn. Good morning. So we've built an ASP.NET Core application on .NET Framework 4.7.2, and we're trying to deploy into a Windows container. Yeah. Workdir inetpub root. It's that inetpub dub root is configured as a website. It is an application there. I'm going to grab this image and let's force that image version. Right, in fact, let's just copy the whole damn thing. Go back to our other project. This one, Net Framework Demo. It is the default website, yes. Right? Right, so it didn't fill in any of these. So if we go ASP.NET 4.7.2 Windows Server Core, right? So what about the source? We're copying from publish here. So that's fine, the copying and building we're doing down here for ASP.NET Core. So let's grab this. Let's make that our new from statement. Comment out the old one. I don't need these. But I am, when I copy it in, going into initpub www root. Let's give that a shot to rebuild. See if we can get it to go. Yep, process will now terminate. Then do it. But now the output exe is not really what you want. No, it is. It is. I mean, it didn't make a change when I dropped that in there, so I don't mind removing that. Cool. All right, so let's rebuild the project one more time. Come on. And we are running on IIS. We are running in a Windows container. .NET Framework SDK so that we can build. This should work. Hey, Uncle Bill. Welcome. So it is installing everything properly. And because we changed the project file, it's going to behave a little bit differently. Come on. And I actually think this is the same version that I have. Right? Yeah, I've already got that. So I don't think this is going to change anything. Any idea when you tell it -p 5000 5000 it uses some other port? No, I didn't do that earlier. I'll do that this time and we'll see what it does. So, but I think we've got the right we got the right person here to give us some insight. There's Glenn, who works on this, and I feel like there's just a piece missing here because we are deploying now onto an IIS hosted machine. We're calling publish, .NET publish, so it should write those files out. Hey, Veronica, good to see you. Hey, Veronica, how did you have a chance to work on your SignalR migration? The entry point was an old way to do this, Brave Cobra. Was an older way to interact with that. We shouldn't need that. Oh, look at this. Pull access denied for base. Oh, duh, because I didn't call it base here. Oh my gosh. And least fixed point is right. You use the -p and it generates some random port names for you. Port numbers, I'm sorry. Random port numbers. Come on. I think we're not going to get any further this time. I think we're going to see the exact same thing. That entry point though, I don't even think Service Monitor is in the image anymore. We'll take a look-see. We will take a look-see. So, come on. Come on there, little fella. Right, so there's the .NET publish. It'll drop out all of our C# files. It'll drop out all the other goo that we don't need and copy over those pieces of the framework so that it is self-published and all running in that folder for us. Which I guess begs the question, we don't need it to be fully... you stopped using port 5000 in your Docker image and it works perfectly fine. So I'm not specifying 5000 there. It shouldn't host 5000. I mean, it is internally, but I wonder if that's a thing. Now you've got me thinking. So there it is. It's all done. So if I, not .NET, there I go with the .NET. Docker run IT, I'll push through port 80. So port 80 is already used on this machine. I'm going to put it to port 8080. And this was, right? Net Framework demo live. And we should see it run. Right, it's going to start up that Windows machine, get us connected. Come on. And now I see this. I see it stop. Switch 5000 to the defaults 80 and 443 by not using launch settings. Oh, cool. So web service just restarted. And if I try to go to localhost and I specified 8080, I still get the internal server error. So something's erroring out inside of there. And I have no visibility. Right, it is there and running. Up 40 seconds and it mapped 8080 to 80. Epic Engelbart. Yeah, whatever. Get rid of that other one. IIS logs. IIS logs. We can take a look. So if I Docker exec into this, IT, and it is Charlie 5, command. There's the container. Hasn't written anything to the log file yet. Right? Or maybe I'm completely wrong. It returned a 500 from trying to get the fav icon. Not terrible. Right, and it returned a 500 from trying to get this, but it's not giving me any other detailed information. Huh. Doesn't that mean that IIS is surfing? Yes, it does. I am hitting IIS. This is IIS at this point. Don't you get the Microsoft ASP.NET image for runtime? Yes, that is right. Microsoft ASP.NET image for the runtime. And I've copied everything into inetpub www root. There it is. Yeah. And if I look in the www root here, right, I've got CSS, images, fav icon. So it's not, runtime doesn't have the hosting for IIS, but runtime doesn't have the hosting. I'm not in runtime. I'm in 472 Windows Server Core. So the www root that you see here, this is the static files www root that you get with ASP.NET Core. Right, this is standard IIS location where you serve files out of, right? I could put static files in here and it would serve that. exe uses Kestrel. Yeah, no, so, okay. So what you're seeing here, if we do a type on web.config, is that IIS will start up, see this configuration file, and see that there is a handler configured to use the ASP.NET Core module. The ASP.NET Core module will hand off and process using Net Framework Demo exe. Core on full framework is confusing for folks. It is. Yes. So this is hosting Kestrel, and the ASP.NET Core module is proxying requests and handing those over to Kestrel. So this is, right, we're the little bit of challenge that we're having here. Yes, IIS is there as a reverse proxy, and this is the Dockerfile that we're using. Right. IIS needs an ASP.NET Core hosting package if it's running a core binary. You're right, it does. I don't think that's installed in there. Service Monitor is in there still. Yeah, okay. Right. So it does start up and host it. We're just putting stuff into it. From my IIS log file, 500.19. This configuration file is invalid. Okay. I can buy that. Have to go to bed. All right. Take care, Ashley. We're right there. The ASP.NET Core IIS module isn't installed. Glenn, does that get installed by us, or does that get installed with IIS? Right, is the ASP.NET Core module. I thought that came along and was defined in here. Isn't that it? It doesn't look like it's installed in that Docker file. Well, that'll explain it then. Okay. Yeah, I thought it was. I thought the hosting package was installed as part of this. Okay. So if we go over here, this is right. She's just running a normal service here. So we should be able to run the IIS integration package does the handshake between IIS. We will not accept requests from anything other than IIS. We are still running it like ASP.NET Core under IIS. Yes. So, right, and I should be able to, from here, run Net Framework demo and get it to start up. And there's Kestrel listening on 5000. Now I would have to route it through. Let's Docker PS, Docker inspect C5. Right, I should be able to go right there, this, that. That should hit that instance. And it's trying to connect to it right now. And we're not going to get there. If IIS is just a reverse proxy and the port is working, why not kill stop IIS and try running your app on the same port? Should work, right? I could do that, but this should work also, and it's not even getting there. So there's a couple things that I feel like are disconnected here, right? Clearly, Kestrel is working here. And it's serving. But oh, actually, look at that. Actually, no, that's right. That's right. Serving from inet pub dub root. That's where it is. Listening on localhost 5000. Oh, but like Glenn said, we will not accept requests from anything other than IIS. It's binding to localhost. Yeah. Yeah. So if I change the binding, actually, right? It's not in deps JSON. Where is it? It's either app settings or is it going to be an app config? Why is there an app config? Let's start there. GC server. No. Yeah, that is what it's supposed to do. So that's why I can't get to it, is because it's bound to localhost and it's not going to let me change the launch settings. Right, I don't have a launch settings file in here to change which address that it's running on. Actually, can I change the URLs? Right, can I do something like, right, isn't it ASP.NET Core URLs equals star 5000? Right, isn't it something like that? Nope. What's the override for that? Right, ASP.NET Core URLs? I thought it was something like that. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking there, Smab. Let's copy that. Well, that didn't work. ASP.NET Core URLs equals star 5000. And I don't want the HTTPS, I want HTTP. Just to get this thing running. What? Nope, still bounding to localhost. Environment variables have to go before the executable. That's not how you do the command line switches. Yeah, if I did it as a environment variable, that any command line will only work if you have your command line config to your config thing. Right, it's I'm doing the default. Set ASP.NET Core URLs equals HTTP. I need the star. Okay. Cool. Okay. But I'm going around IIS, right? IIS is there and it's not answering properly because it doesn't have the thing installed. But we got it working. Aklu J, thank you for the follow. All right. So let's tidy that up. Right? We don't need full ASP.NET 4.7.2. We can get away with just .NET Framework 4.7.2. Right? That we're deploying to. I would try to add. I would add a thing to try to get and install the ANCM. Yes, I agree. But I think we can ditch IIS for this. Right? If I did that, and if I did env ASP.NET core URLs, right? Change this to expose 80, right? And then workdir, let's make workdir down here app. And then entry point is net framework demo exe. Is this advertising for IIS usage? No. No. I'd go for Nginx. Sure. No need to pack your reverse proxy. Yep. What did I do? Oh, I'm in the wrong folder. Net framework demo. Build it. What? What do you mean you can't find it? .NET Framework 4.7.2. We were just looking at that. Uh, 4.7.2 runtime. Rats. That's what I had wrong. You can use it without a proxy now, is what they're saying. So, all right, come on, here we go. I'm feeling good about it this time. And then we'll publish out the code that we have here. So, but the success is driving me on. We're almost there. We're almost there. I can feel it. All right, .NET publish. Yeah. Come on. And I'm going to... No, we're good. I really hope you can get some MS guys to watch this stream and see the pain for themselves. Brave Cobra, Calum is here. And I'm sure we'll have a couple emails after this to discuss some of the challenges that we ran into, what we can do to clean this up, because it feels like it's just a config file or two that we're missing, along with some documentation around this to really get people pointed to the right things. The tool wasn't loading the right Docker file for us. Yeah, that Docker file does need to be generated properly. Yeah, let's run that, and we should see it. What? Get rid of the other ones. Come on. I think we've got Festive Tesla. I know that's a cool name. Oh, unrecognized scheme. Only HTTP is supported. Oh, are you kidding? Here's what I'm going to do, just to force the issue. What it's saying is, we don't need that equals. If I recall, we explicitly don't create yet another image to support this scenario. No, but I don't think this is something we need another image to do. We need to generate and point people at the code necessary to build this. That looks good. There it is. Cool. We got it. All right. So, get rid of that. Get rid of that. So what we've done, we're using .NET Framework 4.7.2 to run. We're using .NET Framework 4.7.2 to build, and the SDK has the .NET SDK in it. So you can run at the command line. We're copying and doing all the restores appropriately. This bit in here was not connecting and using the Windows format properly. Right, so doing the .NET publish and then copying it over, and this now works. It's not using IIS, but it is building and hosting with Kestrel. Can you get bits from ads now? I'm going to harvest some for the next time you have a win like this. You used to be able to. I'm not sure. Sergeant Spear, thank you for the follow. I appreciate you joining us. But I think we got it. I think we got it. Trial and error, Brave Cobra. Trial and error. So let's do this. Let's get this package out here on GitHub. Set up a repository, post it up there so that we can talk about it and what we might want to do to make it easier. Right? Net framework core container. Let's call it that. Demo showing how to compile, how to use an ASP.NET Core application on .NET 4.7.2 in a Windows container. Public, initialize it with a README. Sure, give me a git ignore for Visual Studio. MIT. Alright, I'll stop that. Okay. Let's git init. Git remote add. Git remote add origin. That. Git pull origin master. Cool. Okay. First commit. It's not a core app, but full framework. Yep. Oops. Fantastic. All right, there we go. So that code that we wrote is here. And you can see the Dockerfile right there. And yeah, I think we're going to have a couple conversations about this use scenario. Is this something that we really want to focus people being able to support? How do we get people better documentation around how to do this? Because, wow, this is a challenge to get set up. But the flexibility that it gives you is this is a Windows container that you've built and run against using ASP.NET Core, using all the latest feature. You're going to get some you're going to get the performance bump, you're going to get support, you're going to get all the features in ASP.NET Core running on Windows. It's running on Kestrel. It's not running on IIS. We still couldn't get IIS to run correctly, and I think Calum there, Glenn in the chat room, has it right. We need to put down the hosting package, and I think Brave Cobra was saying this also. We need to put the hosting package in there as well in order to make sure that that's running properly. But let me post the GitHub link there in the chat room. We did a lot here today. Holy crow. We went through a ton. But we've got this working now. And I'm pretty happy that we answered the question of, hey, how do you get all these pieces put together and working so that you're running ASP.NET Core on full framework in a container? You should be able to lift this Docker file, repurpose the bits in the middle here where you're doing your actual compilation, and still get this working hosted on Kestrel inside of a Windows container. And I think we're at a good place to call it right there. So thanks so much, everybody, for joining me. I'm going to set us up to raid. I think our friend Dev Chatter is still over there. So I'm going to set us up to raid Dev Chatter. If you'd like to stick around, if you want to join over there, all you have to do is hang out in the chat room, and it will redirect you over there. If it's late at night, like where Ashley is, thanks so much for sticking around. But I think we had a lot of fun here today. I think we found problems, we diagnosed problems, we learned a little bit about how to diagnose those problems, and we really got something cool done today. I'm actually kind of proud that we figured this out together. So, take care. Say hello to Dev Chatter for me. Let them know you came from over here. And I will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
So we're doing an interesting episode here on Dev Chatter today. We have been interviewing, discussing, Q&A-ing with Cassandra Ferris, and talking with her about different career growth, networking, recruiting, other topics like that. So welcome, everybody. We were just